Hi and welcome, and thank you for signing up for the Dreamer Early Access. I'm going to walk you through how to use the Dreamer portal. Before I do that, please keep in mind that this platform is in active development, and that means that we're changing things really rapidly and without warning, so there may be stability issues. If you experience any of these, simply logging out and logging back in will resolve most of them. If it doesn't, send us a screenshot to the email address that we sent your registration info from so we can take a look. Let's go ahead and get started. So as we log into the portal, there's a lot going on. So I'm going to go over all of the buttons and the menu items, and then we're going to talk about the process of generating content. On the left is your gallery. Everything that you create is stored there, and that persists across devices. So it's stored on a CDN and will load over the internet. Be patient if you have a slow connection, but this even works on mobile. So you can access the gallery, you can close it, you can actually move it. So if you want it over here on the left to give you more area in the canvas to work with, then you can. And of course, there is a sorting system and a rating system, so you can rate some of the assets that you've created, or you can search by the prompts. Because we are saving the prompts for every item you create, that can be one way that you tag things. So maybe give things names when you are creating prompts. Of course, you have the ability to delete. So if there's something you don't like, simply click the trash can, click the item, and then click that trash can again, and it's gone. So let's talk about the canvas. So the canvas area here has lots of buttons that will highlight depending on what you have, whether a 2D or a 3D object. And so you can see here we have the ability to auto rig this 3D. We can upload a new 2D image if we wanted to, or even a 3D image. And we can also download that current asset. And we can download it in different formats like FBX. So we also have the ability to set as portrait. So if we want to change the layout, we can change this to maybe something tall. We can generate 2 images at a time. And of course, we have a full prompting here that tells a big, rich story about what this actual item is. But let's start over and let's go back to something really basic, like I want to create a wizard. And maybe I'm not really good at talking, or maybe I'm not really good at typing. So I want this enhanced prompt to actually build a wizard for me. And I want it to tell me everything about how to describe what a wizard is. So our AI will actually build a rich prompt for you through that enhanced feature. And then it'll use that prompt to go ahead and ask to create a wizard. Now that didn't take very long. Usually it takes about 5 to 10 seconds, but look at the prompt we have. So now we can actually edit some of the items inside of the text prompt if we wanted to. Of course, if we're really good at that, we can just, not use the enhance and type it all out. Or maybe we want to use voice. I can ask for an orc this way, and I can accept voice input. So if you're like me and you're really good at talking, but maybe not writing, you can actually use voice to describe everything that you're wanting to build. We think this is pretty powerful, and it allows you to do a better job of getting past what we call prompting paralysis. So now that I've created that prompt, I have this wizard. Maybe I want to turn it into a 3D object. That's going to be really difficult because I don't have feet and there's a lot of things that are missing from here. So we've created some more cheater buttons at the top. I can paper doll this, which will actually turn it into an A pose, full rendering head to toe, and it's built a prompt to do that. Maybe I want to turn it into a portrait or a movie scene, or maybe you want to morph it to different styles and genres. All of those features are here, and we're probably going to add more cheater buttons here just to make prompting a bit easier. Now, this is interesting that AI has decided to pop a sword in there, so we'll go use some in-painting magic, and let's go ahead and clear that out. We'll change the size, let's change the color for the marker so we can actually see it. Clear mask in case we've created anything we don't want there. But notice when I'm highlighting this, I'm trying to get some of the edges around the item that I want deleted because AI needs to understand what it's looking at. I want to give it some context. So we're just going to wipe out that sword. In painting should be as quick as 2D image generation, so that'll go by really fast. If we didn't want to use that in painting, then we have the ability to download that JPEG and we could pop this into another thing like Photoshop or something, or maybe we have some other automated process that we want to run our pictures through to change the tone or the style or the color. So we'll clear that mask. You'll see that that sword is gone. And I think this is a pretty good pose to animate from. So let's go ahead and do that. Before I do that, these animate buttons here are pretty important. One is for characters that are riggable, have a bone structure, can move. So we would use that option. The other one is for static items. And then once we do have the ability, once we have the 3D model, then we can auto rig that. Again, we can upload new one or we can download that if we want as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at the options here. There's a lot of complexity. You may or may not have access to this menu, but this allows us to set face limits so we can generate something up to 300, 400,000 polys, or maybe something really low definition like 4 or 5,000 if we're doing something like Roblox. Different textures and other advanced options for those of you who understand the 3D world and how some of these models work. And we will have a ton of different 3D model providers that we'll be able to select through this version. Inevitably, we'll end up with our own at some point. So we'll start off with that and we'll go to town. So now that that's going to generate, it will take about a minute or two. We're not going to wait. Let's go look at something that we've already generated. So we'll go to a Hobbit, and I told it to create a Hobbit, and it built this beautiful prompt. I was actually able to edit it the way that I wanted and get this into a 2D image. I didn't like the little belt thing there, so I painted that away. Then I generated the 3D, and the 3D I can move around by left clicking or right clicking and dragging, so I can actually see how well it did with hallucinating the back, the feet, even between the toes. This is not 100% ready. We're getting there. So we imagine that by the end of this year, we'll be almost drop-in ready. Characters, we're already really close on items. So this is designed to get you most of the way there, not to replace any artistic license or ability on your end, which is why we allow you to download this as a GLB or an FBX, so you can edit this in other platforms, Maya, Blender, 3D Studio Max, etc. So once we liked what we had here, we went ahead and we clicked that animate button to rig it, and we ended up with this default animation. Um, this means that this is drop-in ready into Unreal, and it can already use all other default animation sets. So when you're actually importing this asset from the platform, you're most of the way there. If you're building concept art, and maybe you want to build ideas as a creative director without having to waste a whole bunch of people hours and the team, this allows you to rapidly create some prototypes that you can actually experiment with. And we think that's the real power of the Dreamer, is to get you to the end state faster, not to replace any of the workflows, but just to make it a lot easier. We hope this has been informative, and we really welcome a lot of feedback. So if you've got any ideas or things that just did or didn't go well, please let us know. We definitely want your input, and we'd love to hear from you. Thank you.